Good afternoon and welcome to the latest section of our sports show. As you know, each month we've been catering on the icons of sports entertainment sort of documentary that we're putting together. And over the last few months, we've been specifically focusing on boxing, looking at boxing champions, looking at boxing world champions throughout the decades, where it's been Larry Holmes to George Foreman to Antonio Tarver, or even our own sensation Irish boxing champion Wayne the Pocket McCullough, to name but a few down through the years that have tasted either Olympic success, world success, being dominated their division and ranked as one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. And this week and this month, we're delighted to be joined by a former two-time world welterweight champion, having held the WBC and IBF titles between 2008 and 2011, as well as the WBA interim title in 2015. He won the National Golden Gloves tournament in 2001. He represented the USA at the 2003 World Championships, winning bronze, and he represented his adopted nation, his home nation of Haiti, in the 2004 Olympics. If you haven't guessed who we are talking about yet, just a bit more. 37 fights, 32 wins, 24 by KO, and just the 5 losses. Of course, the beast himself, the one and only Andre Berto. Andre, delighted to have you on. Delighted to speak to you today. And Andrew, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Roy Jones Jr. to start off, that I asked George Foreman to start off. For growing up as a young child, where you all had aspirations and dreams of what you wanted to be, when did you first become a boxing fan, a boxing lover? What was the first thing in terms of boxing that made you say, yeah, I want to take up boxing? Was there a particular fight? Was there a particular moment? Was there a particular person that inspired you?
Yeah, my dad. Actually, my dad, definitely inspired me. He was a fighter as well, but he was a mixed martial arts, guy. Growing up, he used to spend a lot of time in Japan. He was fighting at the Pancrase Association. It used to be called shoot boxing, back in Japan before the UFC came here to the States. They were doing most of the mixed martial arts over over in Japan and across seas. So I got a chance to see him do a lot of that. So when he came home, he trained in a lot of different disciplines. Of course, boxing being one of them. And he used to just take me to the gym with him. Of course, us being in the house, we were always big boxing fans. I believe the fight that really made me fall in love with boxing was probably Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard.
Okay.
That fight really struck me. It was big. I still remember a lot of people just in our house watching it, and just the craziness and just the eruption of that fight. And I think I still have. I used to have a cup. They had like a promotion cup with them two on it. And I used to just keep it and drink out of it all the time. But I think that really made me fall in love with the game. Me watching, that young Mike Tyson, and just seeing that type of, intensity and just that type of, that craziness that he used to bring, when it was fight time. It was just real tense. And, of course, just growing up, I was a little bit of a troubled kid. I had a lot of energy. Everybody in our household, were athletes. So I used to get in a little bit of trouble at school just by having just so much energy. So the teachers used to tell my dad they need to, take me somewhere to relieve that energy. So he started taking me to the boxing gym with him. And the first time I got in the ring, I sparred. And I got beat up by a fat kid. It just didn't register to me on how it happened, because I was stronger, I was faster, but of course he had the technique, and he just beat the heck out of me that day. And just from that point on, I was on a mission to find out like what that was, like what really happened. So so I just fell in love with it.
And Andre, you mentioned there that you grew up in a house full of athletes, and I presume growing up in a full of house athletes where you came from, American football was probably big, basketball was very big as well, probably. Were you prominent in those sorts of sports? Were you a runner? Were you an athlete as well? Could you have gone down a different route? Were they promising avenues for you as well? Or was always boxing the one that enticed you? Boxing was the one that you showed promise from a young age?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when I say athletes, us, we're from the Caribbean, so we're big on our football is, it's soccer. We're
Soccer,
big on
yes.
soccer, but again, like I say, when I say athletes, like everybody in the household, we were fighters. My brothers, they were wrestling champions in high school, and in college. My two little sisters, they were national judo champions. My dad, of course, was doing the mixed martial arts, and me, I was the boxing. So of course, just going a little bit older, middle school, high school, I played football. I was a great football player as well, so I could have went that route. But of course, I really felt that I found out I had a real gift for boxing at a very young age. Really just making the national team at like 14 and being able to travel the world to maybe like 22 different countries by the time I graduated high school. So I knew that boxing was going to be my thing.
And Andre, you mentioned that having all that sort of energy and obviously getting to represent your country at such a young age, and remember at 14 or 15 making the national team. Did that put you on the path? Did it put you today? Did it take you away from maybe all the maybe troublesome things that might have been going around with kids your fellow age around the area? Did it,
Right.
that having to put that serious commitment in at a young age, did it grind you into the man that you are today?
Yeah, of course. I mean, my father, he was a very stern guy growing up. And of course, he's very committed to his sport. So for me, wanting to box, and of course, just them just coming from a country like Haiti, they know we had to always work just twice as hard as, for everything that we, wanted to achieve. So even though I was into the boxing, I was having my amateur fights, he was waking me up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to go running. And he was just very, very just tough on me when it comes to all my training regimens. So I had that work hard. I mean, I had that hard work ethic, very early, but I really identified that I was different. I knew, once I was able to achieve so much at a very, like young age in a boxing game, and knew that I had the capability of changing the direction of my family's life financially and everything else. Yeah, at a very young age, I kind of just honed into it. Now, I didn't really want to get too much into foolishness because I kind of separated myself from it because I knew I had an opportunity to really change things for myself, for my family, and just for my community as well. Just being someone to make it out of a small town and really, try to take it to another level.
And you mentioned there about the onus of family and the importance of family.
Yeah.
Was it hard there in terms of financial commitments for your family? Did you have to do an awful lot of sponsorship, an awful lot of donations to sites to sponsor your place? Was there money from the government in terms of these travel abroad? Did your family have to maybe go out of their way to make your dream happen for you?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, it was everything. Like, I had to earn everything. I had to earn everything. Nothing was given to me. I really didn't have any sponsorships, coming up at all. It was me being the best that I could be in my city. And then I had to be the best in my county. And I had to be the best fighter in my weight class in the States. So it was me, my coaches will just drive to every tournament that we could drive to and to perform and to show that we're the best. And once I start going to those big tournaments and being the ranked #1 kid in the state ended up paying for me to go to regionals to fight. I had to dominate the regionals, and they had to pay for me. I had to earn my way to go to nationals. You understand what I'm saying? And then I dominated nationals, and from that point, I was part of that U.S. team, which they paid and took care of as well. So I really had to earn every point of my amateur career. And you know, I mean, like, it was amazing. It was really like my first time getting on a plane for the first time was them paying for me to go to national tournament. You know, one of my first times receiving brand new clothes and shoes were when I was on the national team at 14, and the team was sponsored by Adidas. So they'll send us big bags of Adidas boxing gear just to prepare us to go on a, like, you know what I mean, on a trip and on a tournament. So that's when I knew that, okay, you know, all this hard work has been paying off, because it's starting just to open doors that I know that we couldn't, you know, take care of and pay for.
And I suppose, Andrew, in terms of the breakout star, the breakout sort of moment for you, were you touted as a favourite or touted one of those contenders coming in to the Golden Gloves tournament in 2001? Or was it a great surprise, maybe, in terms of, obviously you believed in your own ability, but in terms of winning that, did you sort of come out of nowhere in many people's eyes? Was it a shock to him? Was that really when Andre Berto became on national stage as this guy is one to watch?
Yeah, because I think the 2001 was my first Golden Glove win. I think I won it again in 2004. But I think my first one, it was definitely surprising for a lot of people, because that was me, you know, coming into the open division. It was me coming up from the juniors and going to the open division. So of course they had a lot of guys that were already, you know, just top seed did guys, you know, like in the open division, a lot older than me. I was I think I was, you know, 17 years old. And I think that probably was like my first big breakout moment. They were hearing out a lot about me, because I think my first open tournament was the National PAL tournament, and I won it. I beat a lot of the top national ranked guys at that tournament. Then the next one was the Golden Glove. So they knew I was coming. They knew I was coming. They were hearing about it. They knew I was coming.
And Andre, it must have been a proud moment for you to represent Haiti in the 2004 Olympics. And did you get to sort of carry the flag for your nation?
Yeah, I mean, you know, of course, it's a weird way the way it happened. I mean, I fought for the U.S., you know, my whole amateur career. I fought everywhere in every world tournament and every national tournament, and just actually at the Olympic trials, you know, during a bout on me just trying to make the Olympic team, I actually got disqualified. And that's how I that's how I ended up you know, going to, you know, like I said, going to fight for Haiti. I got disqualified from the US team. And then it was the first year that they tried to take a team for Haiti. And then I went to the Olympic qualifiers. And of course, yeah, I dominated. I beat everybody. And I ended up being the one-man team. I was the only person on the team representing the boxing team to go to Haiti. So it was kind of crazy. It was a crazy story.
And Andre, you made your first professional debut as well in 2004, I do believe. And obviously coming off the Olympics, obviously got a promoter, an agent, a sort of talent manager. Was there much scouted interest for you, or was it an easy decision?
Yes, like it was pretty easy for me. You know, I had a lot of guys. You know, as an amateur, I already had you know, like I already had a big pro style, and everybody kind of knew it already. You know, I was very fast. You know, I had a lot of power. I trained with a lot of pros as an amateur. So I was very highly scouted, you know, as an amateur coming out the Olympics. A lot of the big pro promoters, pro managers, and the networks at the time, you know, wanted to sign me. They didn't really care what happened at the Olympics. They just knew that I was going to be able to make a, you know, great, that's why I transitioned to the pros, which, you know, which is kind of rare sometimes, because a lot of great amateurs, it's very hard for them to make a successful transition to the pros and kind of drop their amateur style and go into that more professional sit down style. So I kind of was already set for that. So they didn't care what happened at the Olympics, and they were just waiting on me to get back. You know, all of them were lined up.
And I suppose, Andrew, Andre, in terms of your professional record, you shot this 27-0 without much fuss, without much difficulty. But in terms of early on in your career, was it the big names sort of eluded you in terms of getting the big fights early on. Did it really disappoint you that you didn't get them maybe earlier in your career, maybe around 19-0, 20-0, when you were sort of probably peaking, that they probably came that bit later for you? You just couldn't get the big names at that time?
Yeah, of course. I think all of them knew what they were doing. They wanted to stay away from me, quite early. And just certain things happen, man. Of course, the Shane Mosley fight was supposed to happen, and then I had to cancel it a week before because they had the big earthquake in Haiti. So I had to go and handle that because I had a lot of family that ended up dying there. And of course, the Mayweather fight, it was supposed to happen before the Victor Ortiz fight, and that didn't happen because they threw the Victor Ortiz fight in front of me. So, and it was just me just being young and very immature at the time, and didn't take the fight seriously, didn't train like I was supposed to. I was upset that I didn't get the Mayweather fight before then, and I didn't know who Victor Ortiz was, and I kind of took it for granted. And of course, everybody see what happened. I had my first loss. So, like I said, and from that point, it was me just really just trying to build myself back, just build, the confidence back and just get back in the mix.
And that Victor Ortiz fight, you mentioned there about confidence. It sort of rocked you, I say. Probably you were in a state of shock, I'd say, for a while afterwards, in terms of it was a bit of a road for you to get back, in terms of it wasn't the case where I can put this out of my system. It almost like it haunted you for a while.
Yeah. Just to be honest and transparent, I think a lot of guys, that are very dominant, that's something that it's pretty hard to get over, when it comes to your first loss. I believe in mixed martial arts, they've seen it with, Ronda Rousey, like I said, you've even seen it with, your guy, Conor McGregor, Deontay Wilder, a lot of people, Roy Jones. Once they become so dominant and we really have a power about us that we really feel like we cannot be beaten. And once that happens, doubts start to creep in a little bit. You really start second guessing yourself, when it comes to a lot of things. And that looming energy of invincibility, it kind of, sets aside a little bit. So it kind of messes with you mentally. That's the part of the game where I really understood that the fight game is like 90 or 80% mental for sure, because you get guys that were extremely dominant. They take their first loss and they can fight a guy they already beat before, and it may come back and beat them just because mentally they weren't in the same space. Nothing else has changed. The same skills, the same power, the same speed, but something happens to that mental space. A lot of people don't ever come back from that. But I think the only way to come back from that is to somewhat do what I did. I just kept showing up. You have to keep showing up, have to keep going and keep just moving forward.
And I suppose, Andre, in terms of the four big fights of your career, you're 2 from 2. Luis Calazzo and Devin Alexander, 2 wins. Floyd Mayweather and Sean Porter started 2 defeats. Probably you fought Luis Calazzo, but probably in your peak of your powers in terms of that. And obviously, Devin Alexander obviously went into that fight probably favored against you, and yet you were able to turn back time and able to turn back that. In terms of Mayweather, in terms of that fight, I know you wanted him for a long time, but has maybe history shown ourselves with Floyd out the sport that Floyd was really truly dominant and Floyd was really as good as what he said he was, that people obviously just couldn't, everyone tried, but no one could get near him?
Yeah, the thing with Floyd is, of course, I've known him for a long time. And of course, just me being in there with him, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, to be honest. Me myself, I'm a very, physical fighter. So if I feel like I'm not supposed to be in there with somebody, or somebody's not supposed to be in there with me, I'm going to show that, and I'm going to make sure to get them out of there. With Floyd too, to be honest, that was one of my easiest fights when it comes to physicality, because I really didn't feel like I got hit so much at all. But then again, it was very difficult when it comes to trying to put your hands on him because he's very elusive. Very, very, very elusive. So it almost feels like you're fighting a ghost almost sometimes, because I seen myself throwing shots, and he's just this way, that way, this way, that way, this way, that way. But as far as feeling beaten or taking physical punishment, no. It was probably one of the cleanest I felt leaving a fight. You know what I mean? With no punishment, but
And I
very
suppose that you mentioned there you don't really have much regrets, but Sean Porter, I imagine, was a fight you thoroughly went into believing that you could win. And obviously we saw with Sean, probably he was beginning to gradually dip in terms, in terms of Earl, and obviously Terence to show that maybe the form was time wear and tear was beginning to take its part on Sean Porter. Do you feel maybe that you should maybe delay that fight maybe a bit longer, or did you feel you maybe rushed into?
Maybe. That was a fight that I know that my father, like, he didn't even want me to take for a while because he knew, the styles were going to clash. He knew that Sean was a very, very physical but dirty physical fighter. You know what I mean, in a sense. So in that fight, I took countless amount of headbutts. And everybody that watches Sean fight, it's just how he is. He has a lot of energy. He brings a lot of energy, and he comes in head first a lot. He doesn't care if he hits you, it doesn't matter. So in that fight, that was probably the first fight I really felt like I had a concussion. You know what I mean? I was cut on both eyes. He was cut. He didn't care that he was headbutting me. He just kept coming. And just kept complaining to the referee. And it was like the referee he had his hands up. So I was kind of like in a space where I felt almost, helpless to a point. I got a young kid in front of me with a lot of energy. He sits a lot lower than I do because he's a lot shorter, and he just comes and comes and comes, and that head is right in my face, cutting me all up, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So in that fight there, I just felt like there definitely was a fight that I should have probably just delayed on.
And do you feel sort of redemption in your eyes? Was it a proud moment for you? I say you were spurred on by extra motivation, obviously, to see could you beat a world champion again in terms of Devin Alexander, who's held world titles. Did that make you sort of feel, yeah, I still have something to offer in terms of the boxing game once you defeated Devin? And if you hadn't defeated Devin, would you have packed it in that night?
Yeah, probably. I probably have. I had I have a long career. I think I'm 18 years in right now. But it was a good fight with Devin. He was former world champion, still sharp, but for me going in there, being able to, to pretty much just handle him pretty good. Just continue to show me like, okay, I still got a good bit left in the, in the tank. But I don't want to stay too long. I probably got a good 2 or 3 more in me, but after that, I kind of, it's almost time.
Yeah. And Andre, I suppose there's always speculation about fighters and what in terms of what's in the work. What is the current status of Andre Berto at the
moment? People ask me that all the time because I haven't officially retired. People from my social media, of course, they still see me in the gym, all the time. They still see I look like I'm ready to fight at any time. I don't look beat up. Thank God I haven't taken, I've had taken some good shots, but it haven't affected me, in a terrible way. But I don't know. I tell everybody the same. I don't know. I get calls from Showtime. I'm in Al Heyman all the time. So we got some things that we've been talking about for sure. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And Andre, I just got to ask you one final question, 2 final questions.
Yep.
Have you ever been to Ireland? And if not, is it a place you would like to come to and visit?
Never been to Ireland. I was supposed to go one time as an amateur, still haven't been. And actually, Connor's been trying to invite me to Ireland for a while. I just spoke to him last week. I know he's out in the Dominican Republic shooting a big movie right now. But probably if I go, I may pop up with Mr. McGregor and see what's going on. I've been telling him for a while that I want to come out there and come out there to his restaurant, The Forge, and just try to run around a little bit to see what's what. So I don't know, I might be out there soon.
Yeah. And finally, one thing we need to know about Andre Berto, apart from boxing, can we tell something about what's Andre Berto's other sporting passion? Do you follow a club? Do you follow a team? Are you a big sort of player-esque? Are you NBA? What's Andre Berto's hidden passion?
Man, what is my hidden passion? I love the Food Network. I watch Food Network all the time. While I'm in training camp, I watch Food Network. While I'm making weight, I watch Food Network. But besides that, man, I'm just a businessman. I have a lot of different businesses that I have my hands in now. And I think those are where my passions are right now. Sports, of course, I like to watch them. Blase. And I go to the gym every day. I stay focused. I still have a hunger for for life, and just to have a hunger just to stay in shape and just to attack this next level of whatever it may be. So I'm just staying focused on that.
Andre Berto, an absolute honor talking to you today to relive your life story coming up from the young amateur ranks to becoming a two-time welterweight world champion, obviously representing both the USA and Haiti to such a plumb. It's great to see that you're still very much motivated. The big mystery question is still going to circle around your head for many months to come. I know we wait with a plumb to see what happens there. But for the moment, Andre Berto, take care. God bless. Stay safe.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate you. Thank you, everybody. For sure. Thank you.